few weeks ago, we shared a video about avoidable mistakes in your short-term rental and how they can lead to bad reviews.
And one of those mistakes was not getting ahead of any known limitations at your property, and also having a plan for how to help guests still have a good experience at your property despite those limitations.
In that video, our example is parking. At this house, how to find the garage can be really tricky.
And also how larger cars don't always fit in this garage, and also how the keypad at this garage can be a little bit tricky to operate.
Basically, it's a complicated and somewhat confusing check-in process.
And since the check-in process is really your guest's first impression of the home, we want to make sure that that goes as smoothly as possible.
Smooth. Very smooth stuff.
What's up, guys? I'm Steven.
And I'm Kylie. And as we were thinking about what we wanted to discuss in that video a couple weeks ago, we realized something that was lacking in our own business.
Since we've always relied heavily on Airbnb as our main booking platform, we've relied on the check-in instructions that you can set up within Airbnb on the mobile app.
When we got our very first direct booking at our first property, like way back in the day, we didn't realize until about an hour before check-in that we had no check-in instructions to send them, because we'd always relied on the ones that are built into the Airbnb app, and this guest didn't book through Airbnb.
So basically what we did is took a print preview version of the Airbnb instructions, copied and pasted that into a Word document, resized the photos a little bit, and made a PDF of it.
Over the years, as we've added more properties, either our own or ones that we manage for other clients, we've still used that same process when we're doing check-in instructions outside of Airbnb.
Yep, we set up and fill in all the details in the Airbnb app. We do the print preview, copy and paste it into a Word doc, and then make a PDF.
All the content is there. Like, it's a good check-in guide. It's thorough, comprehensive. You know, hopefully you're not going to have any issues if you do read it. But if you look at it, it just kind of feels like an afterthought.
Yeah, it's really just not an accurate representation of our brand and then the experience that we want to give to guests. So therefore, not the best first impression.
If you've seen any of our design and setup videos, then you know that I'm a big fan of Canva, and I knew that I could create something that was on brand and looked nice in Canva for check-in instructions.
In this video, we're going to go over how to fill out the step-by-step check-in instructions in the Airbnb app, which will avoid any confusion when your guests check in.
And we'll also show the step-by-step check-in guide that we created in Canva, which is the check-in guide that we'll be sharing with guests who book outside of Airbnb, so on Vrbo or direct bookings or other platforms.
And if you stick through to the end, we'll share some details about how you can get your hands on this template and customize it for your property.
Yeah, yippee!
Let's start first with Airbnb. To set up your Airbnb check-in instructions, you're going to need to use the mobile app. At this time, there's no way to set them up on the desktop version.
So open up the Airbnb app, click menu, and then select your listing.
Then scroll down to the info for guests section, and there is a button for check-in instructions.
From here, you can add photos or text for each step that you want to cover in the instructions.
There are a few things that you'll want to keep in mind when you're creating these. The first is that if your property is difficult to navigate to, you might want to include directions starting at the main street and then turn-by-turn directions from there.
This is what we have for our property in San Diego, which is accessed from an unmarked alleyway at the back of the property.
Another thing that you should try to do is look up your property on Google Maps and see how it tells you to get there. We don't have this problem at any of our rental properties, but we do see this at my parents' house, and finding their house for the first time can be tricky.
Yeah, if you type in their address on Google Maps, it will bring you into an apartment complex that's nearby, but not accessible and not their house. It's kind of a strange thing.
Oh, sorry, wrong house.
So plug in your address to all the major maps, Google, Apple, all those things, and make sure that the instructions are clear and accurate.
Even if it is easy to find your place, we still create these step-by-step check-in instructions for every property in our portfolio.
In these instances, we start the instructions at the house, and we include where the garage keypad is located, how to operate it, and where to park if additional parking is needed.
Then we show how to access the house, whether that's through the garage or how to get to the front door to get in.
We also include instructions for operating the smart lock. For example, on the Yale locks, you have to kind of hold your hand over the keypad to wake it before you type in the code.
And speaking of codes, we don't put those in the check-in instructions because we change those between guests.
Yeah, we change the codes, check the codes, and then send them to the guests shortly before their arrival time.
We also don't put them in the instructions because Airbnb gives guests access to these instructions a couple days before their arrival, and we just don't want any mix-ups or crossover of people arriving at the wrong time. Anyway, back to the check-in instructions.
We use the last page of the Airbnb check-in instructions to share any important information about the house. This is is primarily used for us to give the property maintenance schedules.
So we say which days the pool cleaner comes to vacuum and check chemicals in the pool, and then which days the landscapers might visit the house.
So once you have all of that information filled in, you just hit publish, and then those instructions will be made available to your guest a few days before their stay.
And what we found is not every guest knows how to access these instructions because they're accessing Airbnb on different platforms and mobile versus computer versus email. So we always include a direct link to the check-in instructions the day of a guest's arrival.
In the messaging.
In the messaging, yeah.
But figuring out how to link those is our little secret.
What you'll need to do to create the link to the check-in instructions is find your property ID number. You can find this if you go to the preview version of your listing and check the URL bar at the top of the page. And that has to be in a web browser, best on a computer.
So it should say airbnb.com/rooms, another slash, and then a string of numbers followed by a question mark.
That string of numbers, you want to pick out and copy that.
And then the link to those instructions, we'll put it on the screen here so you can see it, but it's airbnb.com/reservation/check-in guide/ and then your property ID.
All right, so that's Airbnb. What if someone books on Vrbo or direct booking, different platform, and you need a way to share instructions with them?
So for these, we've always attached a PDF version of our very primitive check-in guide that we shared before, but we've since created a more aesthetic version that we've slowly been rolling out to all the properties.
Before you click away thinking you don't want to take the time to create something kind of customized like this, you can access this template using the link in the description below.
Or by going to arrivals.com/check-in guide.
So as we mentioned before, Kylie made this template using the website design tool Canva.
They also have a phone app, but the desktop site is so much easier to use for projects like this.
If you're creative and want to make something yourself, Canva is a pretty easy to navigate tool where you can create your own customized check-in guide.
When you have your document open in Canva and you click on elements on the left, you can search through thousands of different options for graphics, stock images, and other things that you can add to customize your check-in guide.
Once you've entered all the details and the step-by-step process to access your house, you can export a PDF from Canva, and then you can share it on Vrbo or with direct bookings to guests who are coming to your property.
There is a lot that you can do with the free version of Canva, and everything that we've included in our downloadable template is using things that are accessed with the free version so that you can customize it yourself without having to pay for the pro version.
But if you do want to try the pro version, which comes with more features and access to bigger stock image sets and things like that, you can sign up for a 30-day free trial using the link in the description below.
And if you missed our video that inspired this video about avoidable mistakes that you can not make in your short-term rental business, then we will leave a link to it on screen. You can check it out next.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.